Pasquale. Starting off this week, I'm looking at a recreation of the header from CodeDrops. I went ahead and styled all of this on my own and was able to pretty much recreate it almost exactly as it is on the original website. To do this, I utilized CSS, starting out with just some main specifications for the header, the wrapper. The logo is an H1 tag that I've indented off the page, and this way the text that's there still shows up for SEO purposes. The navigation is all specified this way. The little bullets in between the items here are done using the after property, and then I just incorporated some content of a bullet, the color, and just on the very last one told it not to put any content there, so the bullet's not after the final link here. This is one unordered list. I have a second unordered list here with the social media icons, and those I found on the web a web font that is actually set up so that each icon is assigned to a letter or a character on the keyboard. So for each one, the RSS feed, the mail icon, Twitter, Facebook, Google, GitHub, they've all got their own letter assigned. That you learn this through the tutorial on the website, and I was able to assign each one and then just create easy hover specifications on all of them right here with this class. Then the search, I had to use a separate image for that because there is no magnifying glass in the social media icons, so I just created a transparent image and put that up. My second one is this from, these are front page teasers from the front page of a website, and it talks about 3 different products that they've got. Each of these, very simple to do. I created for that one image sprite that had all 6, these 3 images, and then their hover states, and then just repositioned the background on the teardrop, and then when you hover it repositions. Same thing with the heart and the leaf. And then just simple H2 tags. I created buttons with CSS and hover properties for those. My third is this news feed. This is off of, I got this from Wired.com, and the original looked like this, and my copy of it just taken on slightly different properties because I don't have the same exact fonts, but the spacing and everything was done pretty easily. For this one, I had set up main things for like the body and the font to cover all of that. You've got each one of my news items is an article. So each article has the color specified, the borders on the bottom. I used the aside to float the entire component to the right. I used an H2 tag for the top, and then in each of the list items, for this one here, the very last one, I used a before pseudo class that actually it's wrapped around the whole thing so that when you either hover over the text or the icon, they both turn color like that. This is my sign-in form recreation. The original looked like this, comes from sharethis.com, and this is to either sign into your existing account or to create an account. You can use social networks to sign in, and the way I did this, similar to the front page teasers that I showed you, this is just one sprite, and I just keep repositioning the sprite, the background position, to pull in each one of these icons in a different spot. My CSS for this is here. On this one, I pulled all the colors right away. I got them with a color picker and kept them up top as a reference in the comments, and then it was easier to just put them in where I needed to. For any blue text, I created just one color for blue, one color for the dark blue, the green, and for any strong text on the page, I created a bold property, and then just kept reusing that. In my HTML, I would just call, blue strong or green strong, and so on and so forth. The social icons, here's what I was talking about. I created one image sprite and set it up. The text for each of those list items is indented off the page, but the words Facebook, LinkedIn, they're all in there inside the lists that I created for that. Then I just created the width and height for each one and used the background position to shift over to the next one. For the form, I made some specifications for the inputs. I wanted to make sure that these properties were only applied to text fields, email fields, and passwords, but did not affect the checkbox field. So I had that separate in case I needed to do anything with it. Didn't end up having to use any properties for that or for label. And then adding a little bit of padding and color to the text that you see down here. Here's all where I've got little spans surrounding these to create blue or green, and then the headers, all of that stuff. I would just put the green property into the HTML class, and it would pull in the color for that. The next one was an About Us page. This is pretty simple, actually. This one was one of the ones that took me a shorter amount of time. On this one, I had the main About Us section. I just created the width. Then the articles, each article is one person. So it would be the image, the header, and the body copy or the title. I created a width for that, aligned it, set the margins and the position, and then just set the H1 and H3 color. Font size here, and then for the H3 that's here, it was just easy to change that to orange. The next one that I've got are these call to actions from Fitbit.com. These are kind of done up almost the same way as this one, where I set a width, border radius, and height on all of these, and then it was just the background images to incorporate via CSS, and then spans for these larger text items, and a property for the text that stood out in a different color. My CSS for this is also, you don't have to scroll down too far, but you can see all of it. The width is set. The articles are all laid out here in the article tag, and then my paragraphs, here's where the green color gets pulled in for the font here, or for the text here, and it can be pulled in anywhere else. And then I've got the larger CSS class set to increase the size of these items, and just setting the image width and height a little bit smaller. My images, because I have Retina display and I have not put in any fix for it on my computer, when I take a screenshot and try to create the images from that, it pulls in double size, so I've had to do a lot of resizing on some of this stuff. This is the image gallery from the Austin Food Photographer website for Kelly Wendt, and I recreated this one. The original looks like this. It's blown up a little bit on my main web page, but you can see all the hover states are in place and performing like they do on the other website, on the original website. Very simple to do this as well. Just a one page, not much scrolling, but here's the body. The image gallery is set with a width for the whole thing, H1 tag for the top, and then I used hover states here. For the borders, I set the 1 pixel border on the entire image with some padding to space it out from where the actual image is, and then on hover the padding drops to 0 and the border increases to 4 to create those thick lines like that, and that works really well. Other than that, I just gave some margin to the top of the unordered list that all the images are contained in. This is the CSS for my footer. My footer is a recreation of Florida Hospital Medical Group's website footer. Each of these has hover state, and I don't know if you can see it in the video, but it slowly turns to red, and I used a CSS transition of like a transition delay to make that fade in. It does it on the social icons too. These social icons are the same as the ones I've shown you before. They're using that that font, the web font from socialicons.com. The CSS for this is a little more extensive than some of the others. I had 3 unordered lists for this one. It's 1 here, I'm sorry, 4. 1, 2, 3, and then this one here is the 4th one. And just styled them appropriately. So you've got each of those styled up here, like that. Here's the entire footer, the sections, and the font that I used, and then I've got here's the footer menus for these. That's this entire section here, the footer menu, and then the footer branding is this section down here. There's a background image with these bubbles that hovers over a background color of this darker blue, and then this is an I can't see my HTML right now, but this was a header tag that I text indented off the page and replaced with the background image of this logo right here. My 9th one is a full screen banner, rotating banner. Rotating comes in on JavaScript, so I only created the first frame. This one was very simple to do. Minimal CSS, the banner is set, the width is set to 100%, and then I actually put in my HTML an H2 tag for here, an H3 for this line, and then a paragraph for that line, and text indented them off the page. I figured for SEO purposes it might be good to have that text live in the HTML where it's readable, but because this image was created, with a graphic art program, it didn't actually have text that the browser would read. So I recreated that and then moved it off the page. The slider buttons, I contained them into one spot. Those are also a sprite. You can see it's repositioned here, minus 45 pixels on the left, and that pulls in this one. The first one is the downward button, and that's done with this sprite right here that I created. And then my last one is a follow social media icons that happens in the footer of travelingchildrenproject.com, and they're set up the same way. I used a paragraph here, an H2 here, and then the social icon font that I was using in the header and the footer for Florida Hospital and for CoDrops, just to recreate these, and stuck with the color and branding of the site. The original, looked like this. This is a little bit blown up, but and she's got a background texture that I couldn't find. But otherwise, my focus was on the actual follow icons. So I was able to recreate that again, minimal CSS for the global styles, and then using that same thing, that social web font, I've got different letters assigned to the different icons that I'm pulling in right here, and then you just add hover states or hover a color via hover. That's all 10 of them.